Hello, everybody. I'm Parsha Becky, and we are back for another week of Parsha. As I'm sure you recall, we are currently in the middle of reading the first book of Chumash, the book of Bereishit. Bereishit means at the start, and we are at the start of the Torah, at the start of the whole world, and at the start of our story. This week's Parsha is called Miketz, which actually means at the end. And it is called that not just because we're nearing the end of Bereishit, but because the Parsha says it starts at the end, Miketz, at the end of 2 years, meaning 2 years have passed since the end of last week's Parsha when Yosef was still in jail. He's been in jail for the last 2 years, and now this week's Parsha begins 2 years later when Pharaoh, king of Egypt, has a dream. And in Pharaoh's dream, he sees seven fat, beautiful, healthy cows walking up out of the Nile River. And behind them are another seven cows that are ugly and skinny and hungry. And the seven hungry cows eat the seven fat, beautiful, healthy cows. And they look just as hungry and skinny as they did before. And Pharaoh wakes up. Oh, it was just a dream. And he goes back to sleep and he has another dream. And in his second dream, he sees seven stalks of grain growing up that are beautiful and juicy and they look delicious and rich and healthy. And behind them, he sees another seven stalks of grain growing up that are all thin and worn down. They look like they're getting rotten or moldy or mildewed. And the seven rotten stalks of grain swallow up the seven beautiful, healthy ones. They look just as bad as before, and he wakes up like, oh, it was just a dream. Pharaoh is freaked out by his two crazy dreams, and he's telling everyone, asking people to explain them. He asks all the smartest people in Egypt, and nobody can explain his dreams. Until finally his wine pourer says, "Hey, Pharaoh, I want to remind you about something that happened when you were mad at me. Please don't get mad at me again when I remind you. But a couple years ago, you put me and your former baker in jail. And while we were in jail one night, we both had these crazy dreams in the same night. And there's this guy in jail with us, Yosef, who explained both our dreams to us. And everything happened exactly the way he said. I got my job back. The baker got killed. Down to the day, down to the last detail, everything Yosef said came true. So maybe he can help you with your dream." And Pharaoh says, "Wow, I want to meet this Yosef guy." So Yosef finally gets to come out of jail. He gets to take a shower and put on clean clothes. And then he comes and meets Pharaoh. Yosef is now 30 years old when this happens. And Pharaoh says, "So I understand that you can tell me you know what dreams mean." And Yosef's like, "No, no, no. Slight correction. It's not me who knows what dreams mean. God knows everything. Hashem knows what dreams mean. And Hashem will sometimes tell me so I can help other people out. So tell me your dream and maybe Hashem will help me understand it." So Pharaoh says, "Okay, so in my first dream, I see these seven fat, beautiful, healthy cows. They are the prettiest cows I've ever seen in my life. And right behind them are the seven ugliest cows I've seen in my life. They're skinny, they're gaunt, they're hungry. And the seven hungry cows eat up the seven beautiful fat cows. And they look just as skinny and hungry as they did before. Like you can't see the amount of food that they just ate, like the fat cows inside them. They just look all skin and bones still." And then Pharaoh said, "I had a second dream. And in my second dream, I saw seven beautiful, delicious, juicy stalks of grain growing up all in a row. And behind them were the seven most awful, smelly, rotten, moldy stalks of grain after them. And those rotten, moldy ones ate up the seven good stalks of grain. And I woke up, nobody knows what my dreams mean." And Yosef says, "Well, Hashem has told me what your dreams mean. So here's what's going to happen." Yosef says, "Even though you had two dreams, they actually only mean one thing, because God is giving you a heads up on what's going to happen. So the seven beautiful, healthy cows and the seven delicious stalks of grain both mean 7 years, 7 good years where there will be tons of food, way more food than anyone could possibly eat. And that will be followed by the seven ugly, skinny cows and the seven rotten stalks of grain both mean 7 bad years, 7 years of famine that will come right after the 7 good years in which there will be no food growing. People will be so hungry they won't even be able to remember a time that they had enough to eat." Uh, and the reason why you had two dreams instead of one, Yosef says, is because it's going to happen really soon. And God's like 100% sure on this. So you're lucky that God gave you a warning. Now, that's what your dreams mean. Yosef says, "I want to add, I'm going to give you a piece of free advice. What you should do is find someone who's smart, put them in charge of all of Egypt so that they can gather up all the extra food during those during the 7 good years and save it up to ration out for people to eat during the 7 years of famine. And Pharaoh says, "Wow, like if you can tell me all this, then I'm never going to meet anyone smarter than you, Yosef. So congratulations, Yosef, you are now in charge of all of Egypt." And Pharaoh takes his signet ring, which allows him to sign all documents in the name of the king, and he gives that to Yosef. So he's giving Yosef full power over Egypt. He also gives Yosef a fancy set of clothes and a nice gold necklace, and he gives Yosef his second best chariot to ride around in. He gives orders that everyone who sees Yosef has to bow down to him. He also gives Yosef a new name. He gives Yosef the name Tzafnat Paneach. And he also gives Yosef a wife. Yosef marries a nice woman named Osnat. And during those 7 good years, Yosef gathers up a massive amount of food and he stores it all up to save for later. Also, during those 7 good years, Yosef and Osnat have 2 kids. Yosef names his first kid Menashe, which means forgetting, because he says Hashem has made me forget all my suffering, and Hashem has made me forget my father's house and my earlier life. And he names his second kid Ephraim, which means fruitful, because he says Hashem has made me fruitful in this land where I first was suffering. Now I'm very happy. Uh, and so the 7 good years end, and the 7 years of famine begin. And there is no food growing. But Yosef has lots of food that he gathered during those 7 good years. So whenever people want food, they're like, "Hey, Pharaoh, we need food." Pharaoh says, "Go to Yosef, do whatever Yosef says, and he will sell you food." And in fact, the famine is not just in Egypt, the famine is everywhere in the world, including in Israel and Canaan, where Yosef's family lives. So Yaakov says to his kids, he says, "Hey, I heard there's food in Egypt. How about you guys go down to Egypt and buy some food?" And by you guys, Yaakov says, "Of course, I mean, Binyamin's not going, because like after my favorite kid Yosef got taken from us, Binyamin's my new favorite kid. I can't risk anything bad happening to Binyamin. I want to keep Binyamin safe at home. I don't really care if bad stuff happens to the rest of you, so you guys can all go and buy food from Egypt." So the other 10 brothers go down to Egypt to buy food. Now Yosef, of course, has grown and changed a lot in the many years that he's been away from home. And he's not going by his name Yosef, he's going by the name Safnat Pa'aneach. So Yosef's brothers don't recognize him, but Yosef recognizes them. So he's gonna kind of give them a hard time now and put them to the test. So Yosef sees his brothers and he says, "You're a bunch of spies. You've come here to spy on Egypt and destroy our country." And the brothers are like, "No, no, no, we're not spies. We're brothers." And Yosef's like, "Yeah, a likely story. 10 guys who are all brothers? I don't think so." And the brothers like, "No, no, no, it's true. We're 10 brothers. We're actually from 12 brothers." And Yosef's like, "Then how come there are only 10 of you?" And the brothers like, "No, no. See, our young our youngest brother's at home with our dad, and one of our brothers is missing. Of course, they mean Yosef. So there's just 10 of us here, but we're from a group of 12 brothers, and we're just buying food for our family." And Yosef says, "Yeah, I don't believe you." And he locks them all up in jail. And he says, "Here's what's going to happen. One of you can go home to your family and pick up your youngest brother, bring him here to prove to me that you really have another brother and you're not spies. And until then, I won't let you go." And he keeps them locked up for 3 days. And after 3 days, Yosef comes back and he's like, "Okay, I changed my mind. I've decided to be nice because I'm a nice guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm only going to lock up one of you." And he locks Shimon up in jail. And he says, "The rest of you guys can bring food home to your family. But if you ever want to see this guy again, Shimon, and if you ever want to buy food from me again, you better bring me your younger brother first to prove that you have another brother and that you're not lying and you're not spies." So he locks Shimon up and he has their bags filled with lots and lots of food. And he also has their money put back in their bags. So the brothers go home and they open up their bags and they find their money is back in their bags. And they're like, "Oh no, this is even worse. Now he's going to think that we stole the money too." And they tell Yaakov what happened. They're like, "So, Dad, we went to Egypt to buy food, but the guy in charge of the country was really mean to us, and he accused us of being spies, and he locked Shimon up, and he said that we can't ever come back and see Shimon again or buy food from him again unless we bring him Binyamin to prove that we have another brother." And Yaakov is like, "Listen, first you lost Yosef. Now you lost Shimon. You think I'm going to let Binyamin go with you too? No way. Binyamin is staying safe at home. The tough luck for Shimon." And Reuven, the oldest brother, says, "Listen, I promise I will look after Binyamin. I will take good care of him. Trust him with me. I promise I will bring Binyamin home safe to you." And Yaakov says, "No deal. I don't trust you. I'm keeping Binyamin safe at home." But eventually, they use up all the food that they've brought from Egypt. And Yaakov says, "Okay, time to go buy more food in Egypt." And Yehuda says, "We already told you we can't go back there. The guy in charge won't sell us food unless we bring Binyamin with us." So Yaakov's like, "Fine. But if you're going to bring Binyamin with you, you're going to be smart about it. You're going to be safe. Here's what you're going to do. You'll bring Binyamin. You will also bring double the money. so that you'll give back the money you found in your bags and bring more money to buy new food, so that he'll see that maybe he'll understand that it was a mistake that you ended up with the money. And you're also going to bring a present for the guy in charge of that country. Because come on, when you give people presents, they feel good about you. If you give him a present, he'll like you, and maybe he won't hurt Binyamin. So they put together a present of some nuts and honey and cream, some of the nice stuff from Israel. And the brothers, including Binyamin now, they go back down to Egypt, and they're brought to Yosef's house. And the brothers are getting very anxious. They're very worried that they're in big trouble. So they go up to Yosef's assistant who's brought them there, and they're like, listen, last time we were here, on our way home, we found our money in our bags, and we don't know how that happened. We were not trying to steal, so we brought back double money this time to give you back the money. And the guy's like, I'm going to stop you there. I got your money. I don't know what you found in your bags. It must have been a present from your God, from Hashem, because you're paid in full as far as we're concerned. And the brothers are invited to eat supper with Yosef that night. And Yosef comes and he sees Binyamin and he's like, oh, this must be your younger brother. And they're like, yeah. And he greets Binyamin warmly. He says, it's so good to see you. And Yosef is so overcome at seeing his brother that he actually goes to a private room and he cries and he washes his face so no one will know that he was crying. And he comes back out. They're ready for the meal. Now, back in ancient times, Egyptians did not like to eat with foreigners such as Jewish people. So Yosef is seated by himself because the brothers don't know that he's Jewish and the Egyptians won't eat with him because he is. And the Egyptians have a table of their own, and the brothers have a table of their own. And at the brothers' table, their place cards have them seated in order from oldest to youngest. And they're like freaking out. They're like, how did they know our birth order? This is so strange. Now, Yosef gives instructions to his assistant to fill the brothers' bags up with as much food as they can carry, and to put their money back in their bags again, and to hide Yosef's expensive silver cup inside Binyamin's bag. The brothers do not know about this. Now they've bought their food, they're ready to leave. They're going home, they leave the city, and the Yosef chases after them and he's like, hey, stop! Thieves! How dare you steal from me after I was so kind to you? You repay my kindness like this? I gave you a second chance. I had you over for dinner, and now you steal from me? Did you think that I wouldn't notice my silver cup missing? Did you think I wouldn't know it was you who took it? And the brothers are like, please, we would never steal from you. Please, like you saw when we found our money in our bags from last time, we brought back double the money. We would never steal anything from you. And the brothers say, listen, if any one of us stole from you, you can kill the thief, and the rest of us will stay here as your slaves forever. Whatever happens, we'll take whatever punishment. We didn't do it. And Yosef says, oh no, that wouldn't be fair. I want to be fair. Whoever stole from me will be my slave forever, but the rest of you can go home free, safe to your dad. But we're going to find out who stole from me. And they search through all the bags going from oldest to youngest to find out who stole. First, they look through Reuven's bag, and it's not there. They look in Shimon's bag, and it's not there. They look in Levi's bag, and it's not there. They look in Yehuda's bag, and it's not there. They look in Dun's bag, and it's not there. They look in Naphtali's bag, and it's not there. They look in Gad's bag, and it's not there. They look in Asher's bag, and it's not there. They look in Yissachar's bag, and it's not there. They look in Zvulun's bag, and it's not there. And finally, they look in Binyamin's bag, and of course, the silver cup is in there. And Yosef says, "Oh, this is a bad kid. You are Binyamin. You are going to be my slave forever. The rest of you guys can go on safe home, but you're coming with me, kid. You're in big trouble." And the brothers are all very upset because they don't want to leave without Binyamin, but they don't know what to do. And that is where Parshat Miketz ends. And you're going to have to stay tuned till next week to find out what happens to Binyamin. Shabbat Shalom and Happy Chanukah.